3, 4.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss everything that is good, that is bad, and that is savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
Hey, I'm Dash Gehardt, and hey, Adam, could you I'm trapped in this box, and I'm just wondering, could you just order a pizza for me? Can you dial a pizzeria for me, please, right now?
I am sorry, it is super late at night, and the pizza place, they no respond to me, and
no, that's bullshit. No, I said to call a pizzeria and order me a goddamn pizza.
I'm talking to the pizza place now. They are telling me they're low on pepperoni, and they're doing the best they can. I'm sorry. Please don't hang up the phone.
Adam, which stands for artificial dynamic alpha man
disconnected
machine. 2 M's. That's right. Adam with 2 M's. Adam, the acronym.
Call has been disconnected.
I'm just talking to you right now, Adam. ADAMM. I need you to change accents. I need you to do a French accent now.
Sacre bleu, I need my ratatouille.
Ow! Why'd you stick me in the foot with a needle? Owie!
I love ratatouille. I come from a place called Pixar.
Ratatouille is delicious. And speaking of French stuff, we're reviewing Oxygen today. That's right, Oxygen, the 2020 film that's on Netflix. That's right, you can totally check it out.
Well, bro, serves up with Oxygen.
French way stuff.
You like breathing, bro? Okay.
But before we get into Oxygen for this episode, let's talk about our science slurps. That's right, things that we've been doing, slurping, watching, reading, playing, or maybe making this past week besides watching Oxygen. And before I ask Adam that, I just gotta say real quick, I may sound emotionalist right now, but not gonna get into it emotionally for myself personally, but I just want to give a shout out to my Uncle Louie, who passed away this past weekend. He's a good man, loved him very much, he had almost a year-long struggle with a liver failure for, at least a year. And he, from what I heard, he went peacefully. He's not hurting anymore. So, just want to give a shout out to Uncle Louie. Love him dearly. Rest in peace, sir. Take care. I feel inside of me that you're okay now. So, but moving on to Slurpage, which is Adam's Slurpage. What the friggin' F have you been doing? What have you been doing, Adam, besides watching Oxygen?
Oh boy, what have I been doing? That is a good question.
What are you doing right now? What are you I see you
doing, bro?
What are you doing?
It's usually watching.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
I've been watching Assassination Classroom, like the huge. It's a great show. As I said last week, it's a fantastic little anime show. Classroom of kids trying to assassinate their teacher, and their teacher's totally cool with it. He's teaching them how to assassinate him. He's practically
what a good
indestructible.
teacher.
I know. Don't all teachers want that? I thought all teachers wanted that to happen. It's a strange show, but it is strangely very good. So just gonna say, definitely check it out. It is available on Hulu right now, I believe. If you have Hulu, check it out. Pull it up. Assassination Classroom. It's fantastic.
I wonder where they get the name Hulu for a TV streaming network.
Yeah, I do really wonder about that. Was someone just out playing Hulu or something? They were just doing some Hulu action, and then they're like, you know what? I love my Hulu hoop, and maybe I'm just gonna make a video streaming platform.
Okay, so here we go. Why is it called Hulu on rewindandcapture.com? And what it says is, after generating a long list of potential names and writing them all over the wall, Eric Fenn, CTO, suggested the name Hulu. He didn't just randomly come up with the clever name. He highly considered it for a previous company. Prior to joining Hulu, Fang was the founder and CEO of Mohiti, an online video automation service located in Beijing, China. Mohiti was almost called Hulu. The team liked the name because it was short, fun, and easy to pronounce, and didn't have any meaning in the English language. In other words, the name did come with any false impressions. I think they were supposed to write didn't come with any false impressions. This is one of the greatest benefits of picking a name that doesn't exist in the marketplace. So it doesn't mean shit.
Exactly.
And so I don't know about hard. It's easy to pronounce because I hear a lot of people say Hulu at times.
Really?
So, but yeah, I do agree with them. It's way easier to make up a word than it is to find a word and find out, whoops, that means some bad stuff.
The two things I learned today is, first of all, don't call out your friends if you hear them say, I was watching it on Hulu. And you can't.
Sorry, I'm saying it because I say it that way too accidentally.
And it's not a negative slang to call someone a Hulu.
Hey, Adam, you freaking Hulu.
You freaking
Hulu.
Hulu.
I like saying that. That's
you're a Hulu.
This word is now a slur. No. We've ruined it, Adam. We've ruined it.
Dang it.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
Other than that, I've been also watching the show Catfish, also on Hulu. It's, every episode of Catfish always starts the same way, and that's the thing that gets me, is that the people that are on the show Catfish, because to get on Catfish, someone just emails Neve Schulman, the main guy who hosts the show Catfish, and they're saying, my friend, I think he's being catfished by some woman or some man or something. He wants to be in this relationship, and I think that the person they're talking to is catfishing him. Can you please help us out? And it always starts the same way, where the person that is supposedly being catfished, their excuses or their reasoning is always the same. It's like, well, what are they acting like? Like, this person that you want to be in a relationship, have you talked to them on the phone? And their response is always, well, no, I can't get them on the phone. And it's like, well, have you video chatted with them? Well, no, I've tried, but they never want to show their face. And it's like, hasn't that, been a red flag for you? No, I mean, they just say they're at work. They just say they're busy. And it's like, every time, like, you've been talking to them for 6 months or a year, and like, they can't talk to you for 1 second on the phone. And come on, people, think about this. When you're on this show, think about this person you're talking with. Most of these people not only want to be in a relationship with them, but they're like, we talked about having kids and having a family. I sent them $500. It's real serious, but I've never seen their real face. What? What is wrong with you?
Might be the movie Her.
Yeah, well, that's a totally different.
Yeah, he's aware this
he's aware he's in a relationship with a robot.
Yeah, he's like, this is artificial intelligence. It's okay, I get it. But this is like, yeah, they think they're gonna end up seeing this person eventually.
Right. It's just totally absurd. And I'm not going to lie, I'm addicted to watching the show Catfish, and I'm a sucker for it because every episode I'm watching these people just openly admit that they're trying to get in a relationship with someone that clearly they just can't come to terms with the fact that they think they're a real person. And lo and behold, there are the, 1 or 2 episodes where it turns out to be the person they thought it was. But most of the time, the person that they thought it was is a complete jackass. It's like, wow, you really are the person from the pictures. But they're like, yeah, but I was using you just for money. It's like, well, thanks for that. So
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's really nice. The other pretty amazing thing when you think about it is the fact that Neve Schulman, the host of the show, he invented the term catfish. We don't really think about that most of the time, but the fact that we call someone a catfish is because of Neve Schulman in the documentary that he made, Catfish.
The inventor of catfish.
I really don't think about that because I use the term so much, or I think about, wow, that person just got catfished or something like that. And it's like, I only say that because Neve Schulman made that a normal term because of his documentary.
Early to catch the catfish. Wait, do you fish for catfish in the morning or night? I don't know. It's been decades. Decades? Yeah, I think I was like a wee boy when I went catfishing with my father to get him to love me. I didn't like fishing ever. Anyway, catfish. We're not talking about the fish. We're talking about
talking about real people. We're talking about relationship problems.
The relationship problem people.
But if you haven't seen the show, listeners, check it out, or check out the documentary that was made in, I believe, 2010. So taking it back about 10 years, or it was on Netflix for a while. Other than that, just watched a totally different kind of documentary on Netflix, American Murder, The Family Next Door, which is the story of, you guessed it, a murder.
Next door?
Not next door to me, but a man who his excuse was that his wife and children were kidnapped. The cops obviously did not believe that. And spoiler alert, they didn't get kidnapped. He murdered them. So if you want to check out American Murder, The Family Next Door, a man murdered his wife and his children, and it's not good. So, I mean, the documentary is very interesting. It's just, it's not good what that man did to his wife and children. So it's a documentary story on Netflix. And that is what I did this past week.
Ooh, man, that's some heavy stuff. Catfish and murders.
I hope no one is getting murdered and catfished. That is just an awful combo.
Season 4 of True Detective.
That's the next 2020.
And no, thank you. So I'm nervously laughing. So please don't let that happen. So the things I've been slurping this past week, besides watching Oxygen, is, and not the Oxygen Channel, Oxygen the movie.
I imagine you watching the Oxygen Channel.
I think I did when I used to be babysat by my grandma every day during like summer vacations, and I remember Lifetime and watching Unsolved Mysteries on the Lifetime channel and watching Oxygen, I think, which was like a sort of sister channel. I think it was done by the same network.
I mean, Unsolved Mysteries is good though. So
I did like watching Unsolved Mysteries, and then because I was, let's see here, it was reruns by that time because I was a little kid. I was a little kid in the 90s, so, and that's when I would watch it. And I still remember watching it in the 90s, being in, I think it was like in elementary school, and being like, looks old. I like it, but it looks really old.
And then you're like, okay, time for Rachel Ray.
Yes. And so the things that I've actually been watching, not Unsolved Mysteries, but I've been watching a lot of My Hero Academia. It is a fantastic anime that was based off a manga that was, I have the mangaka actually here up in my tab here, which is Kohei Horikoshi, which is awesome. He's also a young guy. He was born in 1986, and he just slammed it out of the park with this manga. It is a huge hit all around Japan, here in the States, and it is basically an amalgamation of classic shonen anime, classic shonen manga, and also elements of the MCU. Specifically, a lot of it was inspired by like X-Men, and also you have basically almost like a Harry Potter structure to it, where like these kids, basically this society in which everybody has superpowers, sort of like X-Men, but they're called quirks, and it could be something that's very useful or something that's not useful. Like someone could just be born with a tail, or someone could be born with literally fire and ice powers. It can be just any all around that. But basically, you go to school to learn how to hone in on that, and you end up becoming a hero, later a pro hero, or just a pro as they call them, in order to work for the government. It's very much different compared to like the US, where like, a lot of like superhero stories here in the US is like, you become a vigilante and the cops don't get shit done, so you got to get the shit done yourself and stuff. And you're always, whether it's Batman or Daredevil or Spider-Man, it's just like you're going against the law to help out everybody because cops can't keep up. So you gotta step up as a superhero in the MCU or even the DCU, the Detective Comics, which I mean by Batman and Superman type of comics. And you end up and the cops are just like, well, he did take care of it, so I guess we won't arrest him. Thank you. Catching the bad guy. So, woo! And but here in My Hero Academia, it does take place in Japan. So every hero works for the government, basically. And it's good. It's praised. It's good. It's awesome. And fighting evil is still definitely a part of the job, but it's almost secondary to basically the competition of becoming like the number one hero or like the top 10 heroes. Like you want to be awesome. It includes, not only like fighting evil and saving people, but it also includes like being like you have a lot of like pop idol type of stuff, you know, like what do you do on social media? What do you do in front of the camera? Like, you know, are you able to like be someone that could have a lot of pizzazz to them? You know, are you able to turn your quirk into something that's very useful, even if it's just a tail? So it all comes down to like strategy, hard work, being creative, being charismatic. It's really good. You have a lot of really funny moments, but you also have like a lot of like really touching moments, and also moments that are just like to get you just pumped, you know. So many great action moments that are just like, it just makes you feel, I don't know, like the way Marvel Cinematic Universe used to make me feel.
Makes me think of like Black Clover when you say the great action moments, because that entire show is just the protagonist like shouting the entire time, just
Well, I mean, this check it out, man. I really do think you might like it. My Hero Academia. It is one of the best animes I've ever seen in my entire life. It is so good. Besides that, I've also been watching Demon Slayer, which is also another anime based off a manga, and this one has a different feel to it, whereas My Hero Academia takes place mostly in the modern day, or a version of the modern day. Demon Slayer takes place in what I can gather, again, I'm only in the first season right now. I've seen the movie that recently came out. Again, I saw the movie without any context, any information. I hadn't seen any episodes yet of the anime. Anka and I just went like, hey, let's just see a movie, and we saw that, and I thought it was cool, and I checked it out because it has some of my favorite voice actors in it for the English dub, and I'm like, I gotta check this out. This seems cool. And also, I don't know. Maybe it's a narcissistic thing. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever. But like,
you're the true Demon Slayer
Izuku
here.
Midoriya in My Hero Academia, and which is weird because they look different. And Tanjiro, the main character in Demon Slayer, kind of both look like me when I was like 17 years old. So I'm
My point
like,
exactly.
I relate to this really well.
There we go.
You know?
There it is.
It's mostly the hair. You know. I'll admit it. It's mostly the hair and the face shape. The heads look very similar to my head. Great big head with great big, floofy hair.
Oh boy.
But besides that, it's really cool in terms. This is more of a fantasy. And it has a lot of really cool traditional Japanese aesthetics to it. And I think it takes place around 1920s, 1930s, a version of the 1920s, 1930s Japan, because you still have some technology. You have trains, you have electricity, but everybody fights with swords, and they're fighting demons. Demons are these almost zombie creatures, and they feed off of human flesh. But the thing is that they are much stronger than zombies. They are very smart. And they're very fast, and you can only kill them by cutting off their heads with a special kind of sword. So it is not easy to. It's almost horror. There's almost like a horror element to it. It also has like elements of like comedy sprinkled in, and like, working hard to obtain your goal and leveling up, within your body, mind, and soul, and protecting the ones you love, and meeting friends along the way, and fighting evil.
That's interesting.
It's so good, man. It's so good. And I gotta say, I consider myself an otaku or a weeb, whatever you want to call it. I love anime. I love manga. I loved it for a very long time, ever since I saw Dragon Ball Z back when I was like 11 years old, the dub that is on Cartoon Network on Toonami. I have to admit, there is a lot of crap out there when it comes to anime. There is a lot of poo-poo, pee-pee, caca. But man, when you... I'm not saying the whole genre of anime or the whole story, artistic element of that is caca. I'm just saying that, like... because there's been so many great hits, there's been a lot of people trying to duplicate those hits, and they can't get what's so good about the good ones is that they have a great story element. You have to have you can't just draw something with big giant eyes and say, like, look, it's anime, it's good. It takes more than that. It takes good stories. And it's so refreshing to find these good animes. And I'm sure there's ones that I haven't even seen that are great as well. Just in my experience, I've, had bad luck in terms of like finding good animes, but you know what? That luck has turned around because right now I'm in love with these two shows. Moving on. Just got two more things on my list. I've also been continuing reading Dune diligently. So I've been want to focus on finishing that first book. It is the biggest book of the series. The next one would be Dune Messiah, and then Children of Dune, and then God Emperor Dune, and then I believe Heretics of Dune, and then the last one of the Dune Chronicles be chapter house Dune. So I have a good understanding of the plot points of the first 3 books. I do know something huge that happens in God Emperor of Dune, but I'm, wanting to definitely crank out that first one, man. And I'd like to finish Dune Messiah too before you and I go see Denis Villeneuve, if I pronounce that correctly, probably not. And we're going to a French film review pretty soon. His take on Dune, which I am very excited about. And you and I are going to see that, man. You and I in theaters.
It's true.
We're going to hold hands the whole time.
Well, I don't know if that's
true. And I don't mean the whole, we're going to interlock fingers. I'm going to grip your hand tightly. You better be gripping my hand tightly. And we're going to watch it together. Buckle your seatbelt.
Only for the scenes that Timothée Chalamet's in, which will probably be the entire film.
Yes, it's going to be so good, man. And in the meantime, you and I have to have a few drinks and watch David Lynch's Dune together, which would be very fun.
Now, that's the real version that you need to hold someone's hand
that's
for.
Canon. That's canon. Pow! Anyway, and the last thing on my list is I had something I haven't finished yet, but I started watching the documentary of Square, the company, that's on YouTube. Granted, it's a fan-made documentary. It's not an official documentary, but it recently came out, I believe. It's made by these video makers, filmmakers that had a lot of Patreon backing, but it seems like it has a lot of really legit information about the beginnings of the company Square, which is now called Square Enix. And they are, if anything that comes to JRPGs, they are the masters of it, especially the Final Fantasy franchise. So it's really interesting to see the roots of it back in the, I want to say, and I could be wrong, 70s, I think. Maybe it was 1980s. Anyway, back 70s, 80s, something like that, when Square first started. And it's so cool to see these young guys that are really intrigued by video games and fantasy and story, and with very limited technology, pumped out some of the greatest experiences with interactive technology. And it's so cool where they are now today, especially after recently completing Final Fantasy 15 on my PlayStation 4, which was an incredible adventure. I loved it so much. But that's what I've been side slurping this past week, bud. To answer your question, since you so politely asked. And now, with that said, let's move on to the meat of our episode, which is our
breathing
oxygen.
Whoa, Darth Vader's on the episode now.
Nope, not that movie. Anyway, oxygen, also known as oxygen, if I pronounce it correctly. French. I studied French for a little bit. Don't remember much. Anyway, so Oxygen is a
better
2021 French language science fiction psychological survival horror film directed and produced by Alexandre Aja. AJA is
perfect.
Last. I don't know. AJ, sorry, Alexandre. It's from a screenplay by Christy LeBlanc. I wonder if they're related to Matt LeBlanc. Probably not. As part of an American-French co-production, it stars Mélanie Laurent, Mathieu Amalric, and Malik Zidi. The film was released by Netflix on May 12th, 2021. And it was distributed by Netflix, and the countries that made it was the United States and France, even though it's all in French. And the production companies were Gateway Films, Wild Bunch, Echo Lake Entertainment, and music was by Rob. And cinematography was by Maxime Alexandre, and yeah, it was produced by Alexandre Aja, Gregory Levasseur, Vincent Maraval, Brahim Chihuahua, and Chihuahua, Brahim Chihuahua. Excuse my Ohio ass, everybody. I apologize. And last but not least, Noemi DVD. Anyway, so
also the composer is Robin Couder, I believe, but they go by Rob.
Robin Thicke.
They go by Rob. So Rob. It's Robin Couder or something like that, but they go by Rob.
To give it just a quick a tidbit on the synopsis for those who haven't seen it, and spoiler alerts if you care about spoilers. This is your spoiler alert. So quick bit about the plot. A woman awakens in an airtight medical cryogenic unit and discovers that she is trapped and that the unit's oxygen levels are falling rapidly. Suffering from memory loss, she does not remember who she is or how she got there. She is assisted by an advanced AI named Milo. That stands for Medical Interface Liaison Officer, but it refuses to open the cryo unit without an
I would just
code.
stop right there because that's pretty much the opening
that's all
scene.
we need to know.
So
Absolutely.
that's where it starts. That's where the film begins. And already it's kind of like, what does any of this mean? Who is this woman? What is this cryogenic chamber? And that is literally the film in a nutshell, which I think, it's not the entire film in a nutshell, but that is the setup for the film in a nutshell. And I very much appreciate the film for just being this cryogenic chamber. And I think more power to the film for being so minimalistic when it comes to sets and things like that, because I think a lot of movies don't do that. I think a lot of movies try and do these expansive, we're going to shoot in all of these different locations. We've got a cast of all of these different people. There's going to be one protagonist with 30 different supporting actors or something like that. That's a little extensive, but there's usually like 7 or 8 different main supporting actors. And then there's all kinds of extras usually in these major feature films and things like that. And I understand that Oxygen is probably not what you would consider to be the A-class Oscar-nominated film. I'm saying that now, but we'll see next year what it's supposed to be looking like.
Actress maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
It all was on the shoulders of Mélanie Laurent.
Exactly. And I think that is super cool. And I think she did a really good job. And I just got to say, I also think it's just really cool that they kept it so minimalistic. And it kept me really involved as a viewer. I just think that watching this movie, I was sitting on the edge of my seat watching this like, wow, I really don't understand where the hell this thing's going to go. And I felt like Milo or the medical unit, I felt like I was watching 2001 Space Odyssey as she's trying to talk to this medical unit, this robo cryogenic chamber. She'd be like, Milo, call this number, do this. And there would be times that it would turn her down. Like, I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that because, you don't have the administer code or you don't have this. I can't do that. And it's like, well, what can you do? Like, you can do this, but you can't do that. You can do this, but you can't do that.
Order me a pizza.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But
I don't know if I want to eat it because she would have to eat it in that tight little space. Now, yeah, that's the thing is that we are so. I feel bad for anybody who is actually claustrophobic, because you were like up in that little high-tech casket with her the entire time. And you don't know where she is. You don't know if she's in the hospital. You don't know if she's underground.
Right.
She could be anywhere. She wakes up and you were just crammed up in this high-tech box with her that is, she can't even sit up. She can barely even like turn over. I do remember she turned over a little bit, but it was still extremely tight. So there is not much space with her at all in that cryogenic space. And there is shit trying to poke her with a needle. There is needles shoved up between her toes.
That's when
there's a needle shoved up in her arm.
Milo keeps asking her, "You want a sedative? You want a sedative?"
Yeah,
like I can tell that you're stressed out. You want a sedative? If I was in that chamber the entire time, I'd be doing the same thing. Like, I don't want a freaking sedative. Like, stop trying to sedate me. I don't want to be sedated. No, I'm not the Ramones. I don't want to be sedated.
Immediately it's like, this is extremely uncomfortable. And we're kind of relieved by that a little bit by her memories. What we think of her memories. Spoilers. But yeah, so we are relieved by that because we're like, space memories. There's a house with a piano in it and this husband. And, there's also, we see a lot of images of rats. We see an image of a rat trying to go through a maze. Also, she keeps having these, I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, these hallucinations of rats that are inside of the cryo box with her.
Yeah, she was hallucinating because we see the rat in. Well, the very first thing we see, the very opening of the film, is a rat going through a maze before we even see her in the cryogenic chamber. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what does this rat going through a maze have to do with anything? And then we see her in the cryogenic chamber, which is essentially the film. And then one of the first things that she sees as she wakes up in the cryogenic chamber is she's hallucinating, and she sees a rat in the chamber with her. And it's one of the pieces to the puzzle. You're kind of thinking, well, why the hell is she seeing this rat in the chamber? Is there a rat in the chamber? Is she seeing a hallucination of a rat? Like, how does that connect to her own life? But you start to understand later on, as she starts to recollect some of her memories, it starts to make sense why she is hallucinating and seeing that rat. But we will get into that as she starts to remember things. But she is, as she wakes up in that chamber, she's suffering very, very serious memory loss. She doesn't remember who she is. She doesn't remember her past. She doesn't know why she's in this chamber. She doesn't remember if she was in a hospital, if she's underground, if somebody put her there. She doesn't remember any of that. And so her best bet for any of that is to try and pull it up through Milo, the robot that's in the cryogenic chamber, who thankfully is like the massive, super intelligent version of a Google search engine. Yeah.
Yep, with a very pleasant French voice.
Yes.
So we have the setting, okay? So it's like, okay, we're trapped in this box with her. We have this artificial intelligence to talk to keep us company, to help us out. We can make phone calls. We know we can, try to dial out. She doesn't really recall much of memories, but so she almost has to kind of do a Google search of like who she is. So she finds out she's a doctor. She starts to remember her husband, Leo. And so the pieces start to come together. So she ends up calling the police to try to get them to locate her. She can't even remember, like, she had memories of like a hospital, but she doesn't remember what hospital. She asks them to trace the call. They say they're working on it, but ends up they say that, okay, well, let me get you to my superior. She says, don't leave me. But then they do it, and then they end up getting disconnected.
What shoddy cops, it's just like, we're just gonna leave you. Like, please don't leave me. Oh, we have to.
We need to go be racist and be racist cops. So anyway, they're busy, right? They're busy. So they end up disconnect. Well, in this case, in this world, at least this. Hopefully, it's a non-racist world. I don't want to give away too much right now. They seem to not be telling her everything she needs to know, even though they kind of know. So they are, how should I say, stalling? They are diverting her.
Well, she needs the codes to open the cryogenic chamber. That's the one thing she tells them she needs. She needs the administrator code to get out of there. And they're like, well, give us the serial number and the company name of the chamber and we'll go get it for you. So she does that. They say, okay, we will go to the company and we'll get you the codes. Just hang in there. It'll take some time. And she's like, I only have, about 40 minutes or I'm going to run out of oxygen. Yep. And they tell her
40 minutes left.
Yeah, and they tell her it's gonna take some time. Just be patient. And then, like Dash was saying, she says, "Don't leave me." And they're like, sorry, we gotta go.
Whoops. So
peace out.
Yeah, sorry. So they end up piecing out. She ends up, being alone there with Milo again. And yeah, time is ticking, and Milo keeps reminding her that she needs to get back to sleep somehow.
Would you like a sedative?
Yeah, by 2% is left. And he ends up telling her, it's like, you have about, 40 some minutes left or something like that at this point. And if you keep breathing the way you are, then it's going to be even less. So he's like, have a sedative. Would you like a sedate? Would you like to be sedated?
Would you like a sedative?
Would you like to be sedated? That's an Italian accent. I don't know. Anyway, so then as the action level continues to fall, she begins hallucinating, as we said earlier, and she tries to open the pod only to be electrocuted. And also,
she tries
Milo
breaking
keeps
out
telling her-
because she can't open the pod. Yeah, so she's chiseling away at it.
Yep, and Milo reminds her that if she that opening the cryopod is a federal offense under the European government. At that point, it's just like, fuck that. Like, he's like, it's punishable up to 10 years in prison. And it's like, who gives a shit at this point? I just want to survive. Anyway, so she ends up trying to recall more of her memories, and she realizes that, you know, she was married, and she realizes she's a cryogenic doctor, and her husband's full name is Leo Ferguson, and his contact number is she accesses it through social media. But then when she calls his number, a woman answers. She tells the woman, our girl, Mélanie Laurent's character, she tells the woman, which ends up, she finds out her name is Elizabeth, and she goes by Liz. Liz, she tells the woman that she is Leo's wife and demands to speak with him. The woman seems confused and hangs up. So,
I thought that the woman on the phone was clearly some friend or coworker, or
Same.
maybe that woman that was on the phone was, you know, something like that. And then the police get back in contact with Liz in the cryogenic pod, and they say, you were never married. Leo was not real. He's not a real person. And so then at that point, it's like, now wait a second. Was the person she called just like some woman's number that she pulled up on accident? Or was this like the real husband of Leo, or the real wife of the real Leo? What does all of this even mean at this point? And then it all comes together after she gets off the phone with the police. That's when all of the puzzle pieces start pulling together, because you realize that she plays back the audio from the phone call she had with the police.
They're hiding.
She turns up the audio of the police call, and they are plotting. They say, the police say to each other,
fuck with her, just stop, you know, just
pretty much
tell her she's full of shit, you know, gaslight her.
Yeah. Pretty much. And so she's like, okay, well, I know that the police are completely lying to me. And then the woman calls Liz back and tells her the instructions on how to basically pop the pod open, but also tells her, don't try and open the pod or you're going to die immediately. And also tells her that Leo is dead.
Yep. She's dead. Yeah, she tells her can't open the pod or she'll die. And at that point, I'm like, I started to think a little, like right before we found out why, I started to think that, like, oh, she's not on Earth.
Even at that point, it didn't click to me. Like when she said if she opens the pod, she'll die. I was still thinking, like, is there someone standing in like a hallway that's gonna kill her or something? And then when she started floating, then it's like, oh,
yep. She uses the code and she begins floating without gravity. Literally, I thought like the second right before she started floating, it just came to me. But yeah, and then after a brief explanation, it is revealed that she has been placed into a hypersleep for a 14. See, my research says 14. I thought it said 12 in the movie.
They did say 12 in the movie.
Yeah, 12.
Wikipedia be
12
lying.
To 14-year light year journey to another planet. Her secret mission is to travel to a new planet, as mankind will be extinct in the near future due to a deadly virus. The virus also killed her husband, Leo.
Let me go back on what I said. Perhaps it was a 14-year journey, but maybe she was asleep for 12 years when they got hit by the asteroid and she woke up.
So right by that moment. Okay. So yeah, we get like a zoom out. We see, because she ends up like asking Milo to, you know, clear the shield so she can see out the window.
Right.
So she finally is able to see outside of the cryopod. Immediately she sees a dead guy like floating, and it's just scary, like, ah! And then it's revealed that the ship, the group of like a ton of other cryopods got hit by an asteroid out in space.
Right.
And you can see, it zooms out and you can see a planet and a moon. And then I realized later, I thought that was the new planet, but that was just Earth. That was Earth and the moon, because they hadn't taken off at light speed yet, because they do that soon after that. Now, here's my question. If they were only by the moon, What took them 12 to 14 years? Like, what? They said that she's been asleep for 12 to 14 years, but they're only by the moon? 1960s technology from NASA, they made it to the moon in like a week. What? I don't understand that.
Well, what part of their helicopter space thing did that asteroid hit? Because was it like the thrusting technology or something that was on their helicopter thing? And also, if that's the case, when she was on the phone with the other woman, I won't drop names yet, but the other woman she was on the phone with told her to just go back into hypersleep and they could potentially complete their mission. Then it's kind of like, how are you completing the mission in 2 more years and you're still by the Earth after 12?
Yeah, it's like... You're not even past the moon yet. 12 years. So now the new stakes is that, like, okay, so oxygen's running out. She realizes she's on a trip to the new planet to be terraformed for humanity's continuation. And she realizes that Mila reminds her, like, dude, brah, you gotta, like, go back to sleep before it hits 2%. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to wake back up. Like, you need at least 2% oxygen left before you go back to hypersleep in order to be waking back up later when we arrive at the new, I think it's like Wolf 321b or something, the new Wolf planet. Wolfie, before we go to Wolf planet.
And, Star Fox all over again here.
Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, brah, go back to sleep. Go sleepy bye.
God, if only he talked like that.
Go to sleep. So that's the problem right now. It's like you go back to sleep. So she also wonders, like, where's she realizes, like, oh, Leo's he died. She starts remembering these memories of Leo with all these, like, he's bald, he has these boils on him. And here's my other question. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So they said that humanity is on, basically it's due for extinction within the next 2 generations, that humanity will cease to exist on Earth, and it's because of this new virus. And we do see scenes or flashbacks or something of these people in these planning, basically for the mission for her to leave Earth. And they all have masks on, so it's very reminiscent of COVID-19, the real world. But the thing is that, like, if they're referencing COVID-19, which I don't know how they couldn't be, if they're referencing COVID-19, what does that have to do with Earth, like, not being habitable or for humans to live there? I mean, like, look, my heart goes out to everybody who died because of COVID-19 this past year, 2 years, I guess now. The thing is, the Earth started to heal when we all started to stay inside and there wasn't so much stuff going on. The Earth was like, not as much humans to choke me and make me feel horrible, and the ozone layer started to get better. The Earth actually got more healthy the more that we weren't doing stuff because of the virus. So what I'm wondering is, why do they have to leave Earth? I don't understand that. Like, if everybody's getting a virus, it's like,
I don't know,
if that was the case, couldn't they have just filled in a line with, like, we've polluted the Earth so much that an artificial virus has been made and it's the Earth that's killing
Or what
humans.
kind of
The
science exists
habitable.
where they can't just research, like, isn't there a way we can recover the Earth's ecosystem?
Yeah.
Or, like, isn't there some sort of science out there, environmental science, where it's like, this might help our oxygen rate increase, or this might be a way to stabilize our oxygen levels on the planet Earth? Nope, we just gotta leave.
Nope. Yeah. In like story structure, it's fine if they want to say the Earth's gonna die in 2 generations. Like that's fine. Like, they can say that in science fiction. It's just that they said it was a virus and they have to leave Earth. Well, what does the virus have to do with the Earth not being good to live on anymore? I don't understand. They have to just connect, even if it's a made up shit. This is like, well, the Earth produces this new stinky poison that gives everybody the virus, and the Earth's uninhabitable, and all the humans are gonna be dead in 2 generations because the Earth makes it bad to live there now. So now we have to leave Earth because everybody's getting the virus because of Earth's, stinky stuff that is humans' fault. It's got to be humans' fault. It's got to be.
It always is. I really don't know how. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that virus is.
It doesn't ruin the movie for me. It's just that I just wish they connected those two dots,
Yeah.
And also the 14-year journey that they said that she was on. Now, okay. And I have another guess how this may have made sense, but another spoiler is ahead. Another spoiler that I'm not ready to say just yet. So let's go back to where we were, which is basically Mila reminds her that, like, okay, dude, you got to go back to sleep by 2%. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to wake back up. So, because we got a long trip ahead of us. I don't know if it's another 14 years. I don't know. They got a long light speed journey ahead of us. So is this a point where she asks, she's like, no, he's not dead, or something, but something about Leo. Is this the point where she asks to see if Leo's in a pod or not? Because, as we know now,
I think so, because she's remembering
thousands of them, right?
Yeah, and she's remembering the rat that was like the number 46 or whatever, and she's like, show me the pod number 46 or whatever, or 17 or whatever Leo's number was. Mm-hmm. And then so she looks at that, and then she asks to open up Leo's mask thing because she learns that it won't kill him if they unmask him. And so she sees that, and then she starts wondering, like, where is his scar? And then she starts doing more research on herself, on Elizabeth Hansen. And when she looks up who Elizabeth Hansen is, she sees that Elizabeth Hansen is significantly older. And there's a video that Elizabeth Hansen is explaining, and it's about DNA transferring into younger bodies, basically. And so this Liz Hansen learns that she's a clone.
She is a clone. Oh, man. That made me want to watch The 6th Day starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That was
cloney clone.
What a twist.
What a twist. Yes, she is a clone, and she is not happy about it. And I wouldn't be either. I have my own feelings about what people think about, like, reproducing, and people thinking that, like, their babies are their extension of themselves.
I mean, the whole thing, she's like, my husband is not dead. My husband's alive. He's in a pod just like I am. And it's like, wait, where's his scar? And then immediately I knew right then, it's like, oh no.
Because he's a clone too.
Yep.
He is a clone too. And so she has never been outside of that cryopod.
Yeah.
Her memories are not herself. The real Elizabeth Hansen, or I should say the original Elizabeth Hansen, her and her team, they learned how to do memory transplants. So also, what an asshole thing to do. It's like, you could have just wrote all of the stuff that you learned in a book, or like saved it to a hard drive and put new people on there to learn that stuff. Like,
well, it certainly makes
just because you do a memory transplant doesn't mean you become that clone.
Right. It makes me really think back on the movie and other parts I was watching. Right as soon as I learned that it was a clone, I was like, oh, this really makes much more sense when you think back to when she first calls the number for Leo, and you realize, okay, so Elizabeth Hansen, the real one, first answered the phone, and she says, don't call this number again, and then hangs up on her. And then also the clone tries calling her mom, the real Elizabeth Hansen's mom, which it's kind of like, how is she still alive if she's that old, I guess? Regardless.
She'd be old, yeah, because the original Liz was old, yeah.
Yeah, but regardless of that, the clone Elizabeth Hansen calls the real Elizabeth Hansen's mom, who answers the phone and was like, oh, I just saw you this past Sunday. Where have you been?
Would you like a Werther's?
Yeah, it's like, where have you been? I just saw you this past Sunday. And it's like, what are you doing? And wouldn't it have, like, crossed the clone's mind? Like, I didn't see you this past Sunday. Like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah. Like, you're right. It's like, what are you talking about? I guess at this point she's like second guessing herself anyway, because her memories are all kind of very foggy. So I guess there would be a point where she'd be like, well, if you say so, if you say
right.
it's all
She's
you,
like, I must have
right.
seen you this past Sunday, and then I got taken and put in this pod. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So at that moment, I just want to make a comment on, well, really praise on the cinematography here. I mean, I could tell that she was definitely in a different set piece for the cryopod because the camera zooms out in such a great way here, where because she becomes very sad, also slightly comforted too by her mom on the phone, and the camera zooms out and you see her laying like in a fetal position in the cryopod, and then you just see her in the cryopod sort of like just engulfed in darkness, and it's such a great moment to really symbolize like how alone she must feel right now. And yeah, so I just thought that was really cool what they did there.
Yeah, it was definitely very cool. It's really interesting how they tie all this together. Just really, I didn't think she was a clone in the beginning. I was like, okay, this is clearly some woman got shoved in this cryogenic pod. Probably someone wants to murder her. That's literally most movies. I mean, it's just like, all right, someone got taken, they got put in a pod, relationship gone bad, like someone's gonna want money. That's always the thing, even if it is science fiction. I'm like, all right,
she works with the computer to help the Bruce Willis cop to bust her out. Yeah.
That's how it always goes. And then little did I know that she would call the real version of herself, and I would learn not even from the real version of herself, I would learn via a robot computer that, oh, you're a clone. Okay. I was not expecting that.
What was the part when, why did Milo try to inject her with a lethal injection? Like, why did it happen?
That was the very end, and that was because her oxygen levels were so low, and not so low, but so incredibly low. And it was just kind of like a safety kind of method. I think it's like kind of like,
you're not gonna want to suffocate to death. So
you're gonna die, and so this is like last call. You're running out of oxygen, and you're going down for the count. So
last call for alcohol.
Yeah, so he was gonna inject her, but she did not want that, and so she managed to pull that out of her foot before she got it, and I thought the very end, I was not expecting the end to be the way it was.
Yeah.
Very surprised.
Where she makes it to the new planet, the Wolfie planet, and dressed in all white, which I'm like, all white? All right, whatever. Anyway, so dressed in all white, and Leo's there, clone Leo's there, Leo 2, and Liz 2's there, and they hug, and the shot is this beautiful shot with the sky in the background, which we see it's either a planet, like a couple planets or a couple moons or one of the two, and it is beautiful. It is mesmerizing. And they said earlier, Milo said about the new planet is that this new planet, on both sides of it, it's uninhabitable. It's either too hot or too cold, but there is a ring around it that is habitable to humans. Now, granted, this new planet is around 4 times the size of Earth, so that basically equator prime meridian around this new planet is a lot of space. So they are there. There's water. There's fresh air. They are on this new planet. They embrace each other, and that's what we're left with. And it's a happy ending to an extent.
I have a hard time imagining, though, that first of all, we don't know what happened to the other, 9,800 people that were supposed to be surviving these
we only
pods.
See the two. Yeah,
we only see the two of them. And also try and imagine what it would be like if, I don't know if it was 9,800 or I think they said about 400 people were lost in the pod. So it'd be more like 9,600 people potentially that hopefully make it back to this new planet. And even still, that's the amount of people that are left surviving after Earth has been completely wiped, and those people make it to this new planet, and then no stress or anything, but you have to completely repopulate this planet now.
Yeah, get to it. Yep. It's wasn't the best plan for their pandemic. But I mean, it's like maybe vaccines. I don't know. Instead of cloning yourself and making your new clone have an existential crisis and identity crisis.
Also, what is wrong with the cops on real Earth?
Jeez.
Like, why are they lying to the people in space, and what is their deal with having to go and shoot the real doctors?
I mean, cops have sucked since. With the last two good cops we had was Keanu Reeves in Speed and Roy in Die Hard.
Yeah, I mean, he can drive a bus.
Sorry,
Keanu Reeves knows how to drive a bus. So
that was our last two great cops. We haven't seen him since in this world or an alternate reality. Anyway, I digress. Yes, but the thing is, like, all jokes aside, it was for such an uncomfortable, thrilling, and also very scary movie to an extent. It wasn't gory. It was still scary at times. It had a very relieving, happy ending. Even though it's like these two are clones, it's like, hey, maybe like, can we choose a different name and we could just like, have these memories as like, oh, that was the person I was cloned from. I'm not them. I'm a clone, but I'm not them. How about let's choose different names. Let's choose new names.
I mean, no, she's Liz. She's like, just call me Liz.
I don't know. It's just like, I have a problem with like parents who name their kids after themselves. It's like, just give them a new name. Give them their own identity. Stop naming your kids after yourself. Or it's just give them a new identity. No more juniors. No more the seconds or thirds. Give them their own identity. They don't have to be an extension of anybody else. They're not an extension of their parents. They're not you parents. And these clones are not their host people. Leo 2 and Liz 2, for lack of better names or their new names, are not their people before them. So they have a new life ahead of them. Also, it made me wonder, if you're going to clone yourself, granted, because we saw that the real Liz is an old lady.
Right.
Like, Mélanie Laurent's a very young woman, but like, wouldn't she start off like, hey, like, she's very young, but we know she's not like 18 years old. You know what I mean? Like,
technically she's 12 years old.
She's 12 hours old, or I guess 14. Yeah, you're right. 12 years old because the lights. But like, she has the body, she has the look of like, a woman in her 30s, which is fine.
Exactly.
Still a young woman. But it's like, when you like, if you can have the mind of someone who's lived 80 years, in your head, but you can have the body, you can have like all the years, physical years ahead of you and start off like, boom, 18 years old. Let's start you off there. That way you have so much more time on this new planet. Yeah, I mean,
right.
It's just like, you're kind of like cheating her off of like 15 years there or whatever, how old she is.
Can you imagine when we get to that time in real life, when we just think to ourselves, like, let's transfer all of my memory and mind into this young body? I
mean, at that point, it'll be like machines, man. It'll be downloading it to our hard drive, man. Oh. The machines, man. Dude, read Dune. They totally talk about like the machine war in the past, which Dune takes place about 20,000 years in the future. But it's so interesting. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on. So yes, we have nice, happy science fiction ending that has to do with love that was copy and pasted into clones. Woo!
Oh, man.
So glad our main character got out of that cryopod alive and safe. So what about production? The cast was very small. Just Mélanie Laurent was Elizabeth Hansen / Elizabeth Hansen clone. Mathieu Amalric played Milo. It was all a VO role. Malik Zidi was Leo Ferguson. In July 2017, it was announced Anne Hathaway had joined the cast of the film and would serve as a producer on the film, with Echo Lake Entertainment and I Am Global attached to produce the film under the working title O2, from a screenplay by Christy LeBlanc. In February 2020, it was announced Naomi Rapace had joined the cast of the film, replacing Hathaway, with Frank Kauflon directing the film, with Alexandre Aja serving as producer. In July 2020, Mélanie Laurent, Mathieu Amalric, and Malik Zidi joined the cast, replacing Rapace, Rapace, and Aja serving as director, replacing Kauflon, and Adam Rubach and James Engel executive producing through Echo Lake Entertainment. In February 2021, the completed film was reported to have received the new title Oxygen. So this film was under development hell for quite a long time, and I would be interested in seeing some of the early drafts of the screenplay and see about how 2020 affected this, because we definitely did have some reminiscence images that were very striking in terms of the pandemic and mentions of a virus.
Right.
So I would like to see, was it the reason they left Earth in the original screenplay or not? Were they wearing masks? And wow, if it was very similar to what it was, that was creepy, because that was 2017. That was 2 years before the virus outbreak happened. So yeah, that would have been crazy. Also, in terms of reception, on Rotten Tomatoes, it had received a score of 89% out of 89 reviews, and they were positive with an average rating of 6.8 out of 10. The website's critics consensus reads, Oxygen gets the white knuckle maximum out of its claustrophobic setting, with director Alexandre Aja and star Mélanie Laurent making this a must-watch thriller for sci-fi fans. And according to the review agitator Metacritic, which sampled 18 reviews and calculated a weighted average of 66 out of 100, Oxygen received generally favorable reviews. So yeah, it did pretty well. And it was, I remember watching it and finding out, especially that first big spoiler, that she was in space. That was about middle of the film, and this film was only about 101 minutes, just over an hour and a half. And at that point, it almost felt like I had already watched like a full. I'm like, there can't be much left. But I remember pausing it and looking how much. I'm like, oh, this film's only half over. There's a lot more left. Wow. And I was like, how can they do? But the thing is, like, the second half, it was so exhilarating to see how this film was pushed forward by. Yes, the director was amazing. The script was good, but this all weight on Mélanie Laurent's shoulders, and
for sure,
her performance in a sci-fi box, all alone, tight in there. Like, it was all on her. If she didn't do a good job, this film would have been terrible to watch. But she knocked it out of the park. She was amazing in it. So good. So yeah, just moving into slurps up, slurps down. That's the main reason. Yes, I love sci-fi. I love, especially when it comes to like humans going to other planets and stuff like that, and learning to adapt to a new planet, as long as they're not invading other planets and invading other life. Not about that colonization, but if it's a desolate planet with no life, then okay. And I'm all into that genre, but this was basically, to me, an acting performance showcase, kind of similar to the way we watched Riz Ahmed in Sound of Metal. That was all on his shoulders, and he had a lot of limitations of what he could do as a person that was going deaf. And same thing with Mélanie Laurent. She was so trapped in a box. There's only so much that she could communicate physically, and she did it so well. I'm going to give it a slurps up, and it is especially because of Mélanie Laurent. I think that she should be nominated for an Oscar for this film. I don't think it will get noticed that much, but I really hope it does. And it would be a surprise, just kind of the way the Academy is. But man, she deserves an Oscar. This was amazing, and I give it a slurps up, and I recommend it. Adam, what is your final verdict, sir?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I definitely want to give this one a slurps up, and I think Mélanie Laurent's performance as Elizabeth Hansen, and even Matthew Amalric's performance as Milo. I hope I said the last name right. His performance as Milo, or Milo. My French accent, Milo. I thought he was awesome. I thought that was a great performance, and it really just draws you in to have this very minimalistic film set and design going on between these two characters, this Elizabeth Hansen and this, medical personified robot kind of thing going on. I can't phrase it any better than that. It's really just these two people are the real draw here. And there's obviously more than just the two of them, but not by much. And it's really fascinating to see that it's just this little design. And I think I was in it the whole way, just trying to figure out who is this person in this cryogenic pod until I continued to learn, okay, it's Elizabeth Hansen, but who is Elizabeth Hansen? And I think this movie did that very well. And I think that's the case with a lot of movies like this. I think with a lot of movies, you don't have to overcomplicate things to have a fantastic film. In fact, usually by overcomplicating things in a script, I think that makes it less interesting a lot of the times. That's not always true, but I think a lot of the times when you put way too much in, it just makes it harder to follow unless you do it well. And I think with this film, by keeping it, it's an argument to have, but I think I think it's simple to follow in a good way. It's a science fiction film. Science fiction can be considered something that's complicated in itself, but it was certainly puzzling. It was me trying to figure out who the hell is Elizabeth Hansen. Starts as who is this woman, becomes who is Elizabeth Hansen, finally becomes it's a clone of some science. What is this virus? What is this world? I'm still at a loss of words of I don't understand what the outcome of this movie is going to be. And Dash, you and I talked about it already. We don't know what happened with those other pod people, but hey, Elizabeth and Leo are going to live a wonderful life where the sun sets on a planet where they can only live on an equator. Final thoughts, I give it a slurps up. Definitely check out this movie. I think the ride was wonderful.
Excellent. Yeah, it was a thriller. Get ready to feel, a little uncomfortable, but it'll be worth it. I said it wasn't overly complicated, but as my words go on, it's just kind of like, it's just a lot to think about. It's just something to think about. I say that because I'm thinking about the world today, and I'm not going to dive into that conversation too much, but it's just, you reflect on it. You really just reflect on it like, what if we had to go to another planet? Yeah, it makes you think, and I really appreciate that. I think it's so cool. I love thinking about those kind of things. I think it's great. I definitely think that we should take care of this planet first and try our best. Yeah, instead of we can't take care of this planet, what makes us think that we're going to take care of any other planets, Yeah, instead of just leaving it behind, it's just kind of like, do we take care of the problem or do we just run away from it? And most of the time it's like, no, let's address the situation instead of just leaving it. Definitely. Let's take care of this planet. Let's take care of each other. Let's eliminate racism. Let's eliminate poverty, and let's just make this planet strong. And then let's go out to space. Absolutely. To make another home. There we go. That way, Dash Gearhart for mayor. Yeah, for international mayor. Vote for Dash Gearhart. Dash Gearhart, not a NASCAR driver, but the Emperor of the Galaxy, God Emperor. That is. If you really he's going to space reference. And he's going to run it. Emperor of the Imperium. That's me, merged with a cryogenic spice making worm. Not really. I would. Leto 2, why did you merge yourself with a worm? Gross. Stop doing that. Weird. Could you have been God King with God Emperor without merging with the worm? I don't know. I'm still in book 1 of Dune. Anyway, I'm obsessed with Dune lately. You're stuck in it, man. Dude, I'm all about Dune, man. You got to read Dune with me, man. Okay. Read Dune. We can talk about Dune in the bonus episode of Patreon. Wouldn't that be cool? Let's do that, man. Let's talk about Dune. Anyway, on that note, it's time for Soul Plugs. It's about the end of the episode. So before that, we're going to plug some stuff that we do besides Screen Slurps. Soul Plug for me, Dash Gearhart, is I stream on Twitch. And I stream on Twitch with my Dungeons & Dragons actual play show called Journey Punks. 2 words. Journey Punks. It's on Twitch. We stream every Monday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can follow us on Twitch, but also you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And the D&D campaign show is every other Monday. And then we have a variety talk / game / whatever. Let's hang out, get to know us a little better and chat with us and chat show called J Punk Junk. It's a companion show to Journey Punks. We are also on YouTube. You can like and subscribe to us there. There's a new video every week from the stream, and on Twitch, which is the primary source for the show, which is twitch.tv/Journey Punks. It's twitch.tv/JOURNEYPUNKS. I am the producer of it, and I'm also the dungeon master. So come check it out. It's set in the world of Eberron, which includes technology and dinosaurs, pirates, and googly goops. Adam, what's your solo plug?
You can catch me online on Twitter, on Instagram, on SoundCloud at Adam Meisner. My name, Adam Meisner. You can also catch me on Twitch from time to time at /A Meisner. And if you want to hear me make music, I make original music. I even cover music from time to time, other people's music. Why the hell would I do that? I do it. I just do it sometimes. And if you want to hear a certain song, just let me know. Just tell me, and I'll do it. I will do it.
I'm looking forward to composing some sweet, smooth 8-bit / 16-bit video game music.
I love doing that, man. I
looking forward to that.
And I've got some online already. I've got some on my SoundCloud.
You know what I'm talking about. But with that said, that wraps up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please be sure to like, follow us on social media. We release new episodes every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just about everywhere you can find podcasts on the internet. And please be sure to follow and subscribe to us on those platforms. And if you like our show, please give us a nice 5-star review in the Apple Podcast app, and please recommend us to everyone in your multiverse. We'll help the show grow to new heights. So closing out, this is Dash Gearhart, aka DJ if you're in my inner circle, and with me is the man, the only, the myth, the legend, Adam Meisner. Adam Meisner edits every episode of Screen Slurps. He is amazing. Praise this man, clap, bow at his feet when you see him on the street, and give him a salute and a kiss goodbye, and thoughts and prayers, and hug if he's into that. If he's don't want to pimp you out for hugs, but this man, he's more than a man. He's my friend.
I am immortal.
With that, have a great day, night, morning, whenever you're listening to this. And we'll see you next time, folks.